So Eric Bledsoe is going to be a Milwaukee Buck for a little while longer, as they signed him to a 4-year extension worth $70 million, so about $17.5 million a year. That's pretty good. The fear would be that Eric Bledsoe is not actually that good. Now, this season, he's been pretty damn awesome for the Bucks. His defense has looked similar to his days with Phoenix, his early Phoenix years, where people would call him mini LeBron for how physical he was, and I think that's fair. You know, he really is back to that level on defense, and there's a chance he could make an all-defensive team on one of the guard spots, especially because Lonzo has missed so much time, and Drew Holiday's still been great, but his team as a whole hasn't been very good defensively, so Bledsoe could be up for that kind of thing. And there's a chance that he was going to end up costing the Bucks more money if they waited until the offseason to sign him, because, you know, once teams start bargaining, and potentially if the guy ends up with some sort of accolade, and if he has a good postseason, and there's definitely reason to believe this year that he will be better in these playoffs, then there's a chance that they were going to have to end up paying him like maybe 5 or 6 more million a year. So might as well just secure the guy now. So I can definitely understand that. Now, if we can talk about Eric Bledsoe, the player, a little bit more, and if this is a smart move to commit to him for so long, you know, the last year's playoffs still happened, okay? And while I recognize everything about this Bucks team as being better in terms of the spacing, Giannis is better, Coach Bud is worlds better than any of the coaches they had before, Eric Bledsoe still has a little part of him that is like, when things are not going well, he kind of mentally checks out, or he just screws up, okay? Because I don't know if he was mentally just out of it last year in the playoffs, or if he just, for whatever reason, couldn't figure out the Celtics, but he was bad. And we know how his last little years were with the Suns, where the guy was not coming into work every day going 100%. I mean, we all saw it. The guy got worse as a player, and we didn't know if it was because of like injuries or getting older, or if he just didn't give a crap. So I do kind of question his mental game a little bit, to the point where maybe these playoffs, there's like some tough series where he just kind of craps his pants, but at the same time, he's definitely doing a lot that would suggest that that's not going to happen. He's going to have to prove it, and we'll just have to see. Now, if we're talking about Bledsoe, the player, away from all the mental stuff, you know, there was definitely a part of his career where he got hurt a decent amount of the time, and granted, the last 2 seasons have been pretty okay, but we have to look at it now and think they're hoping that 32 and 33-year-old Eric Bledsoe can be healthy, can be good to go, and can be at least a starting point guard. I mean, I know the cap is going to keep going up over the next few years, but $17 million is still $17 million. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Even if he does get a little worse towards the end of that deal, I think it's still fine, because the biggest thing that this does is it tells Giannis that the Bucks are serious, because Giannis's contract is coming up a little quicker than you might imagine, and you can't allow any doubt to creep into Giannis's brain about the direction of the franchise and if the team is going to be good and all that stuff. So there's not going to be a moment where you have that awkward exchange where it's like, all right, look, Giannis, we know that you liked this guy and we know that he helped you win right now, but it's going to be better for the team if he's not here in 3 years. Your star player doesn't want to hear that, okay? Your star player wants to win right now. So that's good. The other thing it does is it helps you out a lot with Chris Middleton's free agency, because number one, it allows you to just focus on that. You don't have to juggle like 9 different things, because they have quite a few of their key players who are going to be hitting some form of free agency this offseason. But it also tells Middleton Bledsoe's going to be here. So that is, of course, going to help, because while I think, you know, Giannis is the best bargaining chip potentially in the entire league, given his age and all that, in terms of, acquiring a free agent, I should say. So that was always going to be in their bag. But even so, maybe Middleton would be like, man, this one team is offering me a lot of money, and we already lost Eric because he went to some other team. Then before you know it, maybe Middleton would decide that he actually doesn't want to go to Milwaukee or something. Not saying that would happen, but you at least make it to where that's less of a possibility now because you've ensured that Middleton's point guard that he's been playing with for the last 2 seasons is still going to be on this team. So for all those things, I say it's a good move. As far as what happens with Malcolm Brogdon and Brook Lopez now, I don't know. I mean, I don't think either one of those guys are going to warrant a huge amount of money. I think Brook Lopez can probably be re-signed for $7 to $10 million, I guess. His impact for this team is huge, so it makes sense for why they'd want to keep him. Although I guess you could argue, for as good as Brook Lopez has been, any decent shooting big for this team could still have a pretty positive impact. That being said, I don't know which shooting bigs are going to be making as many as he's making on 7 threes a game, so he's definitely above average in that regard. As for Brogdon, I mean, I could picture him getting a little bit more money than Brook because he's younger and because he's a guard, so maybe something like 12 to 13 million, kind of like that Marcus Smart area of salary. Of course, Brogdon is a better offensive player than Marcus, at least. I guess you could get into an argument about who's the better overall player, but, I guess some team could talk themselves into offering Brogdon like 17 or 18 million a year, with their logic being, if we give him more opportunities than he's had in the Bucks system, that he could give us more. Because for as efficient as he is, and he is otherworldly efficient for this Milwaukee team, he does spend a decent amount of the time off the ball or just flowing within Coach Bud's offense. And, perhaps some team could look at him and be like, we give that guy the ball in the pick and roll, let him go to work in transition. Maybe he could do a little bit more. So that would be very interesting, what happens with Brogdon. But, securing Bledsoe now, it just makes all of this just a little easier. And it also convinces all these guys just a little bit more, hey, maybe I should stay in Milwaukee. So pretty content with it. Hopefully Bledsoe doesn't fall off a cliff. That's it.